Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Toddy, welcome to Mind Your Head, mate. So stoked to have you on today.
Thanks for having me on. I've followed your journey so far and it's cool, and I'm really looking forward to dive into some stories.
I appreciate that. And firstly, how's life treating you these days? I know you just got married a couple of weeks ago. How was that experience?
Mate, it was really good. We couldn't ask for anything better. We got married at home in our property. The weather wasn't great, so like the whole day, obviously I was a little bit nervous anyway, making sure, because it was at home. Susie wasn't there. She was at a little destination with her friends, just relaxing. I'm setting up everything, and then I've got people turning up, like guests, which are all our mates and family anyway, but they'll turn up a little bit earlier, and didn't know if I had to entertain them.
Getting a bit rattled.
Had the mate that done the entertainment. He was just chilling, watching the UFC on the couch. Kids running around, and then waiting for the rain. And celebrants like, oh, look, if it rains, like, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I'm happy to get married in the rain. The boys with the entertainment were like, oh, we don't want our stuff to get wet. And then I'm trying to message Susie's friend to say, what if it's raining? Where are we getting, like, are we going to do it here? And she was like, oh, just do it there. And then all of a sudden, blue skies.
Oh, how good.
Ended up perfect. Yeah, had a really good night. Everyone had a really good time. It was good, man. I couldn't ask for anything more. And then obviously the honeymoon was great.
Yeah. Did you have time? I was thinking about this. Did you have time to reflect on your wedding day and, think back to all the things that you're sort of going through? And do you have a bit of time just to go, oh man, I'm so proud of myself to getting to this point, especially with Susie?
Yeah.
I
had a little bit of reflection that leading up to the wedding, trying to get the house ready for the wedding, with the lawns and like some stuff around the house. That was like, and Susie was like, how it is how it is. And I was like, no, it's at our house. Like, I want it to be perfect. And then a few mates that are married, messaged me or told me on the day just to sit back and have a look. And Susie and that weren't late, but Boyd Cordner and Jared Coker are a little bit late to the wedding. So I said, look, when we can't start till they get there. Like, they're a big part of my life, them too. And I said we won't start. So I told Susie to wait up the road in the limo. So it was like 5-10 minutes. And I had that moment where I was sitting with the celebrant and everyone there was close. And then when I'd done my speech, I sort of let everyone know, obviously, the people that were in the room were a big part of the journey to where I am now. And it's difficult to have guests at your wedding, and some mates that I would have loved to come didn't come. But it's just, I just had to make a choice, and it was difficult. But all in all, the wedding was perfect. I couldn't ask for anything better. And that's to say, it should be a perfect day for you, and it only happens once. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So I'm getting married in 2 months.
Yeah, right.
Any tips for me?
Just soak it all in, relax. Yeah. It goes so fast. Like,
present.
We got back on Tuesday from our honeymoon. And I went back to work yesterday, and like, it's just the big build up, obviously, because we had it at home and making sure everything was right, but just the build up to everything. Obviously, Susie with her dresses, what she was wanting to wear, what I was wearing. For me, at first I was like, I'm just going to wear a black suit I've got.
I still haven't got my suit yet.
Yeah.
Jordan's like, get onto it.
Yeah. So I was the same, man. I was just like, well, I can just wear a suit. I'll be able to find one. And then, like, I had to get it tailored. And then I was just going to wear normal black shoes that I had, so not getting black shoes. But yeah, just to soak it in, like, because it goes so fast. And I just, appreciate everyone that comes. It's cool.
Yeah. And how was the honeymoon?
Honeymoon was good. We took my little fella.
Yeah.
Our little fella, he's turning 4 next month. So we thought, it's going to be perfect for him. He was so good on the plane. And then just in New York, because it was freezing, all he wanted to do was see the snow. And we walked up to Central Park our first day, and my hands were freezing, and I had gloves on, and he was playing the snow. Then all of a sudden, he snapped, like, because he'd never experienced what it was like to have snow in his hands or have really cold hands. He thought he was like someone was hurting him. So he's like, "Ah," he's like in hysterics. So we calmed him down. He just had 3-year-old tantrums.
Yeah.
Probably more often than not. Wanted everything. He thought everything was for him. Like, we'd go to a shop.
Yeah.
Where's my section?
This is his honeymoon.
Yeah.
This is his trip for him.
It's funny you say that, because when we were first like planning the wedding and stuff, we got him his suit and stuff. He was like to Susie, "When do we get married? When's our wedding?" Like, and then like he was talking about it himself, and like even like the day of the wedding is like, "I can't wait to get married this afternoon." Like little things like that. That obviously because he doesn't understand, but he really enjoyed it. And then we got to Hawaii. In New York, we just cruised. So we would wake up, have our buffet breakfast, eat as much food as we wanted the whole trip, and cruise. We got a little stroller for him, rugged him up, and just went everywhere. Shops, went in the basketball. That was cool. Got in the subway.
Yeah, sick.
Got on a cruise all down through Brooklyn Bridge and Manhattan and stuff. And then Hawaii, weather wasn't great the whole time, but we got what we wanted to do. Went around the North Shore, went up to like all the shrimp vans, and
Yeah. Did you go for a surf?
you know what? I've never surfed in my life. I've tried, and I'm hopeless.
All right.
But I was laying on the beach, second day there, and Lion goes, "Oh, can we get one of the paddle boards, big boards?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sweet." So I've walked up to the stand where they were like hiring them out, and there's a lady from Cronulla. She was a mad Sharks fan. She lives there. She's lived in America since Cronulla won the grand final in 2010. I said, "I'll just have a paddle board." And she goes, "Nah, jump on a Mal. Like, you'll be sweet here." And I'm like, "I promise you, I can't surf." So I've paddled out with Lion sitting at the front, and like they're not big waves. Like they were, but I just started paddling, and the board obviously started moving. Like it started gaining momentum, and I just stood up. Didn't go too far, but it was the first time I stood up with Lion sitting at the front.
How good.
And then they got down the next wave, and I paddled down, jumped on the back with him, and made him stand up. And he half fell, and then he was done with it. He was like, "Oh, I'm done with." He wanted to go back in. So
you could have gone a pipeline or something with that.
Bro, we went up to North Shore.
You had a look at it,
and because I think it was a lay day.
Yeah.
But all the waves and like the choppers and stuff that were flying around, and
hectic.
The guy that was done our tour on the bus, he was like, "Do you know how many people like break their necks up here and like all the red signs of do not swim?" Like, and he was like, "Who's the people here that when you see a do not swim sign, jump in the water?" And I was like, "Yeah, like go for a quick dip." And he goes, "Here, like they're shore breakers." He goes, "Like you'll go if you want to go out for a swim and just try and catch one wave, you're getting dumped on your head."
Really?
Yeah, so it was cool. Like Hawaii was cool. Like we just relaxed. Same thing. Ate heaps of food. Spent half our time at the Cheesecake Factory.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because in a couple of weeks we're going to New York and Hawaii, so I was getting a gauge on how that trip was because Jordan's never been before. So
you're going before your wedding?
So we got a trip before the wedding.
Yeah.
We got our wedding, and then we got a honeymoon to Europe.
Nice.
So we're trying to fit in as many trips and stuff as we can because Jordan told me when we get back for our honeymoon, she wants to come back pregnant, and I was like, righto then. So as long
as you're going to Europe or
like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's time.
So I was like, so are you telling me this is the last year of us when it's just me and you doing what we want when we want? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, where do you want to go? Like, let's get some trips in because, you know, when you have kids, I know you went with a 3-4-year-old, but, you know, the dynamics are a little bit different when it's just you and your partner. So I was thinking, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to get out of our system first before, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And she's right in what she says. Like, you've got no more freedom when you have kids. Like, I thought it'd be sweet. Just because obviously we're adults, we understand different feelings and emotions. Where like he's just traveled the other side of the world, still didn't understand that we'd been on a 13-hour plane ride or 15-hour plane trip.
All he thinks you saw in Australia.
Yeah, like he didn't understand. Like he thought we could just go home. Like he was missing our dog Tank, and he's like, "I want to go see Tanky. Can I go see him in the morning?" I'm like, we were on 2 planes. Like it took us a day to get here, but he just like so. Yeah. But it was
different.
So yeah,
Yeah.
make sure you
Yeah.
do your trip
Do
before
your
and enjoy Europe.
We
I'm
will.
sure you'll have
Trust
fun.
me. We will.
And then hopefully there's a baby.
Yeah. So let's talk about you. I mean, I haven't told you this, but I've been such a big fan of yours, and I love watching you play footy. And I know Todd Carney is the NRL player, but I don't know Todd Carney as the person. So I'd like to know, what was your childhood like, and what role did rugby league play in your life growing up?
Yeah. So my childhood was pretty much perfect. My parents were together. I had my mum and dad. I had two older sisters. I was the sport one. I was the golden child because from when I was born, mum said once, because back in those days, you didn't find out if you're having a boy or a girl. And she was like, when the day I was born, my dad's life just changed because he got a footballer. And pretty much that was it. I loved all sports, but from 4, I started playing footy. And then from that journey on, it was just like my dad wanted me to sort of focus on footy, play footy. I didn't have, in my later stages of childhood, so around like 12, 13, 14, I wasn't like other 12 or 13-year-olds.
In what way?
I just wasn't allowed. I didn't have sleepovers. I didn't like sleepovers. I was very close with my mum and dad, and he was starting to train me for footy. He wanted me to just focus on stuff. I wasn't allowed skateboards. I wasn't allowed to buy BMX bikes. I wasn't that kid that would go down the skate park or anything like that.
It was pre-season all the time.
Yeah, it was just always, and I guess he's sort of kept me away from different things too. I remember the first time I drank, it was I was 17, I think it was, and I hid it from him because I was so scared.
Would he have gone off here?
Yeah, and obviously he would have knew how I was the next day, but things like that, I think he was trying to keep me away from. So I sort of was neglected from that stuff, and was just always focused on footy. I was a mama's boy, I still am. Anytime that sort of nothing was going my way with dad, if he was forcing me to do something or I wanted me to do something, or if I didn't want to do something, I was right next to mum's. There's a story of when I was only 5 and I was playing in under sevens and I didn't know really any of the kids, and I was sitting in the car and I said to Mum, I don't know why we're going here. I'm not going to play. And Dad was like, you're playing. He was the coach. He goes, you're playing. So we got there. He gets out. Mum gets out. And I didn't get out. Mum tells me the story and she goes, she come back to the car and she begged me. She goes, please get out. Your dad's going to get angry. And she reckoned I was that stubborn I didn't get out. So she pulls out $5. And then that started the bribery of every game I played, I would get $5.
Yeah.
Because I hated it that much. I think it was just because I didn't know many kids and I was quite shy. And I guess even when I say that now, I'm quite shy until I sort of meet people, until I get comfortable. I don't open up. And that was the way I was when I was younger too. So, but yeah, football was everything. Once I discovered that I was probably potentially be good at it. Dad always thought I was going to be good at it because he was going to guide me.
Yeah. Do you think he wanted it more than you?
Probably in the early stages because he got his boy the one he wanted. But as time went on, while I made all the rep teams and I was in obviously getting picked and best and fairest in different things and stuff, I still had to work hard. And that's probably what sort of got me there a lot quicker than others, because I had some players in our team from under sevens right through to 16s. We didn't get beat. So we had a really good team. I know you had Westo on yesterday or before me, and he was the same. He went on to play NRL, but if you look back at back then when we were younger, there was players in our team that were way better than us.
Yeah.
That probably should have went on, but they just didn't have that drive or that mindset or whatever it was to realize, okay, well, I've got to go to a new level. I've got to do something different.
So is that what set you apart? Because your dad instilled that work ethics
Yeah.
at an early age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can openly say that if I didn't have his guidance as a kid, I wouldn't have achieved what I achieved. And I guess, and we'll probably dive in a little bit later too, but that guidance when I lost my dad at a younger age was a big hole to fill, which probably caused me to do some things. And I feel if I didn't have, obviously, his guidance as a younger kid, I was always probably I had the eagerness or the I don't know, the makeup to do something silly. Like I was a go getter, and that's what the way I played too. I speak to PC quite a lot about, like, you look at players that get in trouble in the NRL, AFL, rugby union. They're all the playmakers, the ones that actually
Have
have
that
to light,
imagination.
have to have the imagination to light the field on fire and be a little bit quirky and stuff, and then you can't sort of
A little bit more out there, and it's just like they like to express themselves and like be genuine and authentic, and like that's amazing on the footy field because it's magic on the footy field. Well, when you're not playing 80 minutes on a Saturday or a Friday, it's just like, well, how do I do this?
100%.
I need to be doing this. Yeah, you want to be the best, exactly.
I know, like when I was like in drinking, partying, gambling, like horse racing, that like when I was first walking into the pub, like I was quite reserved because I was worried about what people would think about me. So I'd wear a hat and I'd just sort of till I settle in, have a couple of beers. 3 hours later, I'm up banging the TV, cheering on horses, like smacking a poker machine because I'm trying to get a feature, like things like that. And it's like that person that walked in went out the window once I felt comfortable. And I felt like that when you played, like it's just a calm before the storm. Once you cross that line, it's like, well, here I am. I've got to be the best. I've got to entertain and got to do what's possible, anything possible to win. And that's the way I guess I live my life in a few areas.
What do you think is the real version of you? When you said you walked into the pub and you're a little bit shy, you get your hat down, and then you have a few beers, and then this other sort of person comes out. What's the real version of yourself?
Yeah, well, I can answer that now. The real version of me is that I'm content and comfortable with who I am because I don't have that outside noise of the anxiety, and I guess that's the paranoia of what people think, and what people think is probably not what they were thinking. But what I thought they were thinking is, oh, here's this dickhead, blah blah blah, and maybe a couple of them were. But maybe a couple of them was like, oh, there's Todd Carney, blah, blah, blah. Or some people didn't even know. But I had that ego to think, well, they should know who I am. And they should know the trouble that I've been in. So, like, they shouldn't have an opinion. They should have an opinion on how I am or who I am. But erase the alcohol and stuff like that, I don't have that paranoia. I don't have the anxiety of walking into a shopping centre. Like, I used to walk into Pack Fair or shopping centre in Sydney. I'd ring one of my mates that I know that would answer, so I knew that no one could confront me because I was on the phone, or I'd just pretend I was on the phone. And I thought that was normal. I thought it was just a feeling you had, but it was obviously because I was not comfortable with who I was. So then, like I said, fast forward 2 years now, end of this month, I'll be 2 years sober, that I haven't had that experience at all. I don't care it's not that I don't care what people think, but I'm living a life that I'm not worried about the things I'm doing, where before I was probably, worried because I was.
Yeah, your life's not dictated by other people, and sort of like what they could be thinking about you. I know what you mean. You don't care about what people think. It's like, I'm not letting my life get dictated by other people's, opinions or thoughts about me.
Yeah.
Because you can't live life like that. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Because you react. And then, like, obviously when I was drinking, if I had that paranoia the whole time, I was there trying to get as many beers down so that feeling would go away. So then I could turn into this person that I'm probably not. So then that hat goes backwards instead of forwards, and I'm yahooing and carrying on. Then one thing leads to another. Like, even like I look back and the incidents that happened while I was playing and stuff, I was quite lucky along the way too. That not that I'd done anything bad, but I'd done some stupid things that probably would have ended up in the back page because I was a professional rugby league player. But never heard it and just so stupid things. But that was because I was pushing the boundary of, like, trying to hide the person that I thought I was meant to be, or trying to be the person I was meant to be. Where if I look at it now, like, I'm not ashamed of the things I've done. Like, obviously it disappoints me, but it's all part of that journey to put me in this chair today and to share my story of my highs and lows, and I look at inspirational stuff now, and you listen to people talk, and I'm sure you would do the same. And I listen and speak to Pierce a lot about it. You test it with you in your life through challenges to then rewrite them to help others. I sat down with a young kid jockey yesterday here on the Gold Coast. He's an apprentice. They reckon he's a gun next best thing. And I was talking to him about my journey and stuff. And when I walked away from it, I had time to think about like what I was talking to him about. And I was just like how much my life's changed. And I'm not there to tell him to not drink or do this or do that. I'm just there to, even when I speak to NRL clubs, I don't push the boundary of don't drink or don't do this. I just share my story to try and help someone in the room. If it helps one, sweet. If it helps none, so be it. I know what it does. It helps me stick on the same path, but also it helps me want to continue to get better. And like, I see myself getting better and better with different things and different situations. And I always want to help. I've always wanted to help, but then sometimes that help would always put me in trouble because
and that's the thing when you're talking to those young kids, it's lived experience. It's not some other guy that's read a book about, addiction or recovery or gone to rehab. It's someone who's played in NRL for years, in the top of their game, and it's also seen the lows and then come out the other side too. It's that lived experience that you're sort of passing on to them. It's like you're sort of not telling them what to do. You're sort of showing them by your actions of like, this is potentially what could happen, and it's, it's such a small gap in your life where you play professional footy.
100%. And like when I look back on it, like I've been in the room with the counsellors and the psychologists and stuff when I was playing, but I had that persona of like, well, I'm not weak, so I'm not going to tell you what my issues are because one, I don't trust you because I don't know you. Two, I don't have an issue. Well, I think I didn't have an issue. And three, I'm not ready to change. But then when I stepped into rehab, I sat down in a room with my psychologist and counsellor, and I didn't want to leave the room because I just wanted to unpack and unpack and unpack because I wanted to come out of that situation better. And then now, like obviously, I don't do too much of it because I've unpacked so much that I can unpack it in an environment that I've got friends, family, obviously my partner. I can unpack it with them now because I've got nothing to hide, where before I wouldn't unpack it with them because I was always used to say to my mum and sister, Susie, I don't have an issue.
Yeah.
Like I'm sweet. And I still sit, and I can honestly still sit here today and like I honestly believe that I didn't have an issue. Like when they say you're an alcoholic, I always used to think an alcoholic is someone that drinks every day, has to have a beer when he wakes up. That was never me. Could have got to that maybe, but we never know. I'm not going to get to find out that. But I also say that I didn't have an issue with alcohol. I had an issue with myself and what I was trying to hide and what I was trying to cover up. And alcohol and drugs covered that up.
That was the symptom, wasn't it? Yeah.
It eased the pain of what you were feeling, or sometimes it wasn't pain. It could have been the excitement of sitting down the pub, or like I still think about it now that in times of excitement, that what got me up to really excite myself was I knew that I was having a beer with my mates on a Saturday. And I still have that itchy feeling of like how cool it was.
Yeah. And when you go back to like your perception of what an alcoholic is, it's like, isolated, they're doing it out of sorrow or depression or something. Whereas like what you just said then, like you're excited to hang out with your mates.
Yeah.
And that was like that thing, that little itch that was getting you every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but I also did obviously have a kill it sometimes. I would have that Saturday with the boys, and then Sunday I'd be still sitting probably on my own somewhere having a beer or something like that. And then that sort of
Spiral
feeling of, and definitely the spiral feeling of when me and Susie broke up for a little bit. My values as a dad was to have a family, not a broken home, be present with my son all the time. And I got my wrongdoing and the way I was acting, got that taken away from me. I didn't seem so 50-50. I was the best dad when I had him, and when I didn't have him, I was, like I said, I wasn't a daily drinker, but the pattern started to show that if it all went pear-shaped and soon as you decide to keep lying away from me, I could definitely spiral down that path. So it's you learn so much about yourself in your darkest times too.
You do.
But the thing for me is that what I've learnt from this journey so far is that if you be honest and open about things and be scared to fail, like I still have thoughts and feelings. I have nightmares and wake up that I've got on the drink and stuff. But it's all a part of the process. Like I ring people and ask, should I feel that way? Should I drive past a bottle and want to drive in and get a 6-pack, or see a hard solo can on the side of the road and think, oh, what do they taste like? Because I've never tasted them. Like, not that I'd do it, but it's just like
you still get those feelings now.
Yeah, like and they can easily go. Where before, if I had those feelings, I would just
react.
I would react to those feelings and take. Like I've had times where 2010 I didn't drink. In different parts of my relationship, I said that I wouldn't drink for a while, and it was 6 months. And 6 months and one day. That one day I'd be straight back into it. Like that's when you start to identify that you're escaping something.
So you're going back to that escaping something, because something that I've experienced as a kid, and I think a lot of us experience different situations when we were kids that later on affect us as adults. You know, you mentioned your dad passing. Do you think that was a pivotal moment in your life where it was a sort of a turning point and affected you obviously emotionally and mentally moving forward?
Yeah, so emotionally and mentally, yes, because if I think back, like I don't remember his funeral. Obviously I knew I went.
How old were you?
20.
Yeah.
So yeah, 20. 2008 it was. 22. Sorry. So it affected me but I thought, because I was 22 playing the NRL, I thought everything was fine. Like, yeah, my dad had passed away, but I didn't show that emotion. Like, I didn't cry. Like, I had feelings that, like, when I was on my own, I'd cry. Definitely when I was drunk, I'd cry. I'd let it all out then, but I would, in front of anyone else, I would hide it. And then obviously from the snowball of that, I get sacked from Canberra. I get into some incidents in Goulburn. I have a year out of the NRL and move to Atherton. Things like that. Them things start to build up, but still in the midst of like losing my contract to the Roosters and Cronulla and stuff, like I didn't ever sit back and just let it absorb. I would be just moved to the next situation. So then now that I've sort of seek professional help and got clarity of it, it all stems back to when Dad died. Like I needed to, I should have grieved then. I should have done the things I was meant to do. I should have, like, and you say should have because it's in hindsight. You can go back and, well, should have done this, should have done this. Well, should have, could have, would have, but it didn't happen. But if I look back at it, I can honestly say that his death affected my actions, the way I drank, the way I partied. Not because I was always thinking about it, but I was always trying to escape something. Then I was escaping the next thing, the next thing, the next drama, the next drama. But it all starts from that one.
And like obviously we talked about before is that footy culture. You're surrounded by the drinking, the partying. Before your dad passed, when you're 22, how did you sort of get first exposed to that? That footy culture and the partying, and how do you think your relationship was it before your dad passed?
So I
went, you debuted at 17 or something?
Yeah, 18. So I went full time in 2003. So I started training full time. Went on my first team trip away. I had Matty Elliott at my wedding. He was my coach, and I remember Mark McLinden come up to me. He was like, "Are you having a beer?" And I was like, "Nah, not having one." And he went over to Matty, and I didn't know if I was allowed. Like, I was a kid, so I was just like, I don't know. And
asking for permission. Yeah.
So Marty went over to Matty and goes, "Oh, is Todd allowed to have a beer?" And he goes, "Oh, if he's good enough to be in here, I'm sure he's allowed to have one." That night ended with me in bed next to Marty the next morning, spew all over him, sand and shit all over me, like not so blackout.
Yeah.
So that's probably a sign to go, maybe you're a bit of a lunatic. So, But I had different experiences. Like I got done. My dad was ill before he passed. He had early onset dementia and ended up passing away from dementia. So I feel when I look back at all them things too, that I knew that he was ill, but I kept away from it, and my mum and sisters kept it away from me too. So then,
What, to protect you,
just to
concentrate on footy.
to concentrate at the task I had. So yeah, I didn't have a good track record when I drank. Probably
from the get go.
Yeah, probably from the get go, because I was that.
Yeah, you always blurting out that.
Yeah, I didn't have the paranoia and the anxiety of what people are thinking. Then I was just that kid that had blonde hair, tattoos, wanted to be the best, and it was the way I carried on when I had a beer, I guess.
Did that release when you were drinking? Did you get that same release or that same feeling playing footy? Because for me, when I stepped on the footy field, I couldn't control my thoughts and emotions away from the field. But as soon as I got on the field, everything that I was worrying about, all life's problems, it went away for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Did you have that same feeling or that same release?
Yeah, I've got goosebumps when you say that.
Oh, really?
Because the feeling I get, and that's why I only retired from playing last year, sorry, is that the feeling I get in that when I play, it's you can't describe it unless you've been there, and obviously you've been there. And the feeling that I would get the same similar feeling when I was sitting around the table having a beer with the boys, because it was like I was in my element. I was in that comfortable place that I was untouched.
It's always playing a character, eh?
Yeah. Like, and it was like when you go on holidays, end of your trips with the boys, like the feeling on the plane with, if it was 5 blokes or if it was 15 of them, the feeling was, you can't describe, because it's, unless you've had that connection, like rugby league and rugby, there's a connection with 16 brothers that you're going to go to war with. And you've worked so hard with them, and it's a moment that I still want to play, because I get that feeling, like when I stand in the huddle with the 16 players before you go out, and you grab onto their jumper before you go, like I don't miss that. I miss that. That's what I'll miss, because it's a feeling of like I'm.
It's that bond that you'll remember forever, and it's just like,
yeah, that's right.
Even the guys that I used to play with 10 years ago, when we won a comp together, over 10 years ago now, every time we catch up, it's like we're the same people 12 years ago, and we talk about the same, and it's the same feelings, and it's hard to explain it to someone who maybe doesn't play a team sport, and it's hard to replicate it outside of the game. It's just like, where do I get that same feeling, that same bond or connection? And it's very easy, like when you talk about it, when you sit around with my mates, and I've done 12 months sober at the moment.
Yeah.
And I sit around with some of my mates, and we had a silly Sunday, and it was the first silly Sunday I've gone to in 12 or 13 years sober. And it was one of the funnest times. But I remember sitting around going, this is the same feeling like before a game or after the game. You've won the game, and everyone's like on this massive high. And I was like, I love this feeling.
Yeah, but it's a feeling that, like, there's a feeling of obviously relief because you've won, but then just when you're in that moment of like I got beaten in the grand final, and obviously we partied like we won because it was the end of the year and there was a celebration, but I didn't experience what the feeling would be like. But speaking to obviously players that have won, like, just the feeling that, and like, it's contagious. No wonder Penrith will just want to continue to keep winning, because they've got that feeling that all time's over now. Like, it's how they can explain that is beyond me, but it is like it's one of those things. Like, and I still sort of hang around when my mates have a beer and stuff. Like, it's still hard for me because I feel uncomfortable. So when I feel uncomfortable, I have to get out. So the night before my wedding, the boys that were here, we went into Broadbeach, and I don't drink the zero alcohol, but I thought I might have one just so I could feel comfortable. As soon as I had put it in my hand, I felt that anxiety and paranoia of what people are thinking because I was holding the beer, but it was zero alcohol. So, but it didn't bother me. So then I had one more of them, and then I stopped because I started to feel uncomfortable. And when I feel uncomfortable,
it's the worst feeling.
Yeah, like I shouldn't feel uncomfortable, but I was letting outside emotions, outside noise make me feel uncomfortable. It shouldn't be like that. No one should feel like that. And if you feel like that, that's when you've really got to actually find out why you feel uncomfortable, because what people think. Because at the end of the day,
Especially when you're with your family and friends.
yeah,
too.
they're probably not thinking it.
Yeah.
Like it's, and
The only thing that I
say to someone, who cares what people think?
Mm.
And I can say it to them and say, well, who cares? It doesn't matter what they think anyway. But I know what that person's feeling like, because I used to be that person sitting there going, oh, and it eats at you. Like when you're playing, like if you lose and you get messages on Instagram or you stuff them a moldy or things like that, oh, you should have scored that try, that was a shit pass.
Stuff my multi.
And you start reading stuff, and then but if you put it all into perspective, it weighs nothing on your life, that message or what that comment someone says. It's got nothing to do with
You as a person.
you as a person. Like it's an opinion of someone's their love. I have plenty of opinions on people, so like, why judge them what someone's opinion is? They're allowed to have them.
Yeah, it's a crazy time though in this sport where, players want to have a personal brand. They want to be really accessible to the fans and everything like that. And it can be such a positive thing. You can have so much positive change, but at the same time, man, you open yourself up to so much bullshit.
Yeah,
And it's such a strange thing where people can just comment, on someone's work
yeah,
and say you're shit at your job.
yeah.
Imagine if you go to someone else's work and just roll into the work and go, you're shit at that job.
Get out in front of their job site and just go, use your shit.
Use a shit.
Yeah, like,
For the whole day with the microphone, use a shit.
yeah.
You stuff my multi up.
Yeah,
It's just ludicrous. It really is.
It is. But
did that get to you? I know you said it, you tried to.
I looked at it, like I'd always look over. I always would look what media would say about the way I was playing. I was quite fortunate along the time when I was playing that if I'd play a half good game, I'd get some really good pats on the back from the media. I was always had that presence. Didn't really go through any bad media through form slumps of stuff, because it didn't really I didn't have always great games, but I had difficult times, and that would eat at me if I'd read something like questioning if I should be in a team or not. Through Origin was a tough one for me.
But yes.
Like it was hard to beat Queensland anyway.
That's what I was going to fucking
Thought
say.
I should have got picked in 2010 to get picked in 2012, and it just didn't go our way. Like Queensland were too good in the end, but like that was the first time in 2012 that I questioned myself that if I should be in a team.
You question your ability.
Yeah, like because it was a big stage, and that's probably the way I played too. Is that I was unsure if I should be in that arena.
Yeah.
And I didn't get an opportunity to rewrite that, and I wish I did, because obviously you grow from your progress and stuff like that. But yeah, that whole series, I was still second guessing if I should be there.
Well, let's talk about that, because I'm sorry, I'm a Queensland supporter.
Yeah,
and I've always wanted to ask, a player. You played against, that team that was almost unbeatable. What was it like playing them, and with all those players in their prime pretty much?
Yeah, well, I guess going into camp in 2012 there was a lot of talk. They hadn't won for however long anyway, so there was a lot of talk. Are we going to be the team that rewrites that? Are we going to be the team that changes that? So there was a lot of that focus of like, how are we going to do it? Why are we going to do it? We had people coming in, Tommy Radonicus, Gus Gould, players or coaches that had been there before us that had achieved, for us, the unachievable. That's what it felt like. And then you go out there. We played in Melbourne our first game. We get beat 18-12. We come to Sydney. We beat them. And then we go to Suncorp. Get to Suncorp, and it's just like, I hate it. Like, it's just like...
What's it like running out?
Yeah, it's just like the roar, and like, I don't get overwhelmed going onto the field, but you just couldn't hear, you couldn't think. But you always, while I said that I was second guessing myself that if I should be in the team, once my jumper goes on or once I cross the field, like, I'm comfortable and confident that, like, in every game we played in that series, I was confident we'll win. We won one, got beaten to two, obviously. Cooper Cronk 45-meter field goal.
Slots it.
It's just, and that's just big moments for him. Like, we didn't get a shot to really change that. But they took those moments, and obviously he'd been there before and done those things, but it's just like it was so close.
That's what I mean. Like a lot of people forget how close it actually was. They'll see, Queensland win, but you actually look back to the games, there weren't floggings.
Nah.
It was every game was,
So it was
came down to
12, and then we won 18 or 16-12.
Yeah.
It was close, and then the main game was 21-20.
Yeah, exactly.
For a 45-meter field goal, and then straight away that next week, change the halves.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Carney, Pearson.
It's like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
It's just like every game was so close. Even that final game at Suncorp was 1 point.
But it's always a big thing when you talk about New South Wales and Queensland and the differences. And I don't know, it's changed a little bit. But we won the series last year with Mitchell Moses steering the ship. Every team that gets picked now, which is probably because he's the GOAT too, Nathan Cleary's in it. But where's the loyalty of the media that write our game, the Telegraph, all these papers in Fox Sports? Okay, well, poor Mitch is not getting named. It's Cleary's Rome law again. Mitch has just gone out the back window. He's just won us a series again. But it's just always that, and that's the thing. It's an opinion from the media, and it makes people think, and
it drives a narrative a lot of the time, doesn't it? Yeah. And one thing that I was not surprised at, but through all the hardships and leaving the clubs and getting sacked, I felt like it never hindered your performance. I felt like even when you left the Canberra, I think you're top try scorer. I think you're killing it that season. And then you got to the Roosters, won Dally M, best player in the comp, Dally M 5 out of the year. I think you're second in point scorers. Like, how were you not letting sort of off-field stuff hinder your performance on the field?
Because I worked hard.
Oh, so you...
Yeah, I was a hard worker. Always so when I left Canberra, I was signed to go to Huddersfield Giants in the UK, 4-year deal. My visa got declined, got in trouble, moved to Atherton for 12 months, lived and worked in a pub, went to the Roosters and just knew I had to work my backside off.
The drive was always there to make it back to the NRL, was it?
Yeah. Even when I was in the UK playing in France and England, I always wanted to come back. I always wanted to. They're more dreams that I have. I wish I could play again and stuff like that, and what it would be like. Obviously, all those days have passed me, but I would always work hard. And that's one thing I'm proud of. Like the coaches that I worked under, while some of them would be disappointed with how things ended. If I had to ask them to describe how I was as a person, as a player, they would say I was a good bloke when I didn't drink, and that I left everything on the field. I trained and played.
You never let the team down, yeah.
And that was a disappointing thing, I guess, for me at all clubs. My form in 2011 when I left the Roosters was just below par. I was injured, had a breakdown relationship with Brian Smith, but that Cronulla, my last game for Cronulla, I got man of the match. I was
almost back to...
Yeah, I was playing some really good football. The season before that, I tore my hamstring in the finals, and I thought we could have potentially won it at Cronulla then. We get beat by the Cowboys the following, and Manly beat us the following week. We beat Cowboys, I hurt my hamstring, can't get fit to play. So through that, and that's why I always think about if you live a different lifestyle, how I live now, then flip that into when I was playing, how different you've been. Same thing, shoulda, coulda, woulda, blah, blah, blah. But it's always a thought. But yeah, always ripped in. I know when I first got to Cronulla, me and Wade sort of, because he was a 5'8" and I was turning up as a 5'8", he sort of butted heads a little bit.
Like Graham.
Yeah. And then he moved to the back row, and we've got a great relationship. And me and him were drinking buddies. And
What a fella.
Yeah. Pull up Sunday morning, turn at train, and then Monday after session, I'd be just
went it all out.
Yeah, I could just fly through it. Yeah. And then he was someone that would never shy away from it, but just would he would struggle with, say, the fitness maybe, where I'd be just fine with it. He'd go, how do you do it? And it's just, and that's one of those things. I don't say like you listen to Ben Cousins talk about his story about
Yeah.
when he played and stuff that he's the way he lived his life away from AFL was the way he lived his life when he played. Like he just dived into everything
It was that
and he's
addictive personality, eh?
yeah,
Like the hard. I remember him saying, like, "Trust me, mate. The harder, the harder I party, the harder I trained."
yeah,
It was either side of the spectrum. You know, there was no middle ground. It was like 100%. Either side of it.
yeah. And I like from rehab the things that I picked up about for me that makes me tick is and makes me in control, which is two little ones. Is I have a cold shower every morning. I haven't missed one, and a glass of water before bed. Like, I haven't missed that in
How
the
long?
journey since the day I left rehab.
Really?
Yeah, and I started in rehab. They told us to do that,
Yeah.
and it's something that I've picked up on. And then my training and diet, the way I train and eat is another big one that keeps me, and that can sort of keep me in check with my that want to get better, and
Yeah.
they're things that like my little fella jumps in the shower with me, and he hates the cold. So I either have to pick him up, sit him on the mat while I have my cold shower, or he gets out, I get out, dry him, run back in, jump in a cold shower, just because if I don't, it'll eat at me.
100%. And that's the thing that I went through my sort of struggles when I was playing rugby, and I went through my times of talking to psychologists, and it's what you said there is even though those little things are so minuscule and they maybe not are big moments in life, but they add up over time, and it's keeping those promises to yourself,
Yeah.
those commitments to yourself. And I think that's how you sort of build that confidence, and you start overcoming things is when you start forget about everything else, but forget about the sort of keeping your promise to other people. I think it starts with keeping a promise to yourself, and like doing those cold showers. Like if you miss one, the whole day it will just eat up at you, and you just couldn't get out of your head. You need to go do it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And even like when I said to myself I was going to rehab, it was a decision I made for myself. Like so many people along the way, go to rehab, will fix you. I was like, no, I won't. I don't have an issue. Like I can just give up alcohol and my life will be fine. But until I surrendered to those thoughts and feelings that I had about what had gone on in my life, and obviously alcohol was a big part of the way I was feeling. So then that would creep in and then take over when you got rid of that. But then when I said that I was going to go to rehab, it was like that I had that, what they say, the moment of that, like clarity, that's time to make change. And that's when I sort of walked in there, I just left the shackles outside and was like, I'm going in here, and whatever they ask me to do, if it's to stay for 3 months, I'd book for 30 days. If I had to stay 3 months, I was staying 3 months. I missed my son's second birthday when I was in there, and I guess they're things that I had to go through to feel like I was doing it for myself. Like I could have maybe I'll wait till, but it wasn't. I had no time to do that. It was time to do it because I was ready.
Yeah. I read something the other day from Tony Robbins, and he said, for people to change, the fear of change has to outweigh your current pain of the reality.
Yeah.
And that it seemed like for you, like that fear of change it outweighed, the pain that you're sort of going through. And that's when you sort of was like, all right, I need to do something here. And it's got, like you said, you got to do it for you.
Yeah.
It's very easy sort of like, if you have other people's sort of motivation, it's sort of,
Well, that motivation goes out the window when you're on your own, or when you're like, it has to be for you. Like, and like, I speak to people about, like, I've had people reach out to me when I do podcasts. People will reach out and go, "Oh, like, your honesty and stuff like that. Can you give me some tools to help? Like, my life's unraveling with alcohol and things like that." And my thing straight away is, and I write back to them and say, "Is it for you or for someone else?" Like, and then I give them tools to work through it. And I suggest things like rehab. I jump on a call sometimes with them if they're genuine, if they say it's for them. And you can hear it in some people's voices. I've had coffee with blokes and sat down with them and sort of got an understanding of what they were feeling. And then, like, you can tell when someone sits in front of you if they want to actually generally get help. And I've sat with a few of them, and it's just like, well, you're only doing it for your partner or something. It's not going to last.
for an image or something. You're just going to shut someone else up. Like, I'll just do it just to shut you up so you won't stop, hassling me about it.
Or it's a challenge, you want to get rid of it just so you can feel good. Like, like the feeling will always get better.
Yeah, 100%. Looking back on it, do you think, you said you debuted at 18. Do you think you struggled in the spotlight as a young kid? And do you feel like, I remember you saying before that your father, it was a lot of footy growing up. Do you think you missed out on a little bit of your childhood in terms of like hanging out with mates and just doing kids things?
100%. Like when I speak to Mum about it, and we laughed at when she done my speech at the wedding because Maddie Elliott was there. She was like, "Oh, if I could rewind that time of when I was a 16-year-old kid sitting in Maddie Elliott's office to either choose to go to Arundel College or leave and go full time." Mum was college, go to play school footy, play Australian schoolboy, stuff like that. If I was to get picked or go full time, Dad was full time, I was full time. Mum was hesitant, but it was never her. It was never going to be her choice. No way.
Yeah.
So I think so. Yeah. And I guess you go into. I spoke at the Broncos a couple of months ago. Madge Maguire coached me at 15 when I was in Canberra for ACT schoolboys, and we were talking about like the way cultures are in clubs now. When I come in, when he come in, and the different clubs and that, like the different cultures clubs have and stuff, and like the thing is, when a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old walks into that room, the senior players, it's not their job to control that 16, 17-year-old kid. They don't have to change to be so that he gets a good ride into first grade or for mentors to look up to. It's for yourself, and like I hadn't experienced it. Like I remember walking in the dressing rooms at 17 at Canberra, and like I was too scared to have a shower. Yeah, I've been walking around naked. Like,
You would have got puzzled for that, eh?
them off, and then like I would wait, like I would sit outside, I'd pretend I was on the phone till everyone have a shower, just so I could feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that, like,
what's it like now in our clubs? Is it still a bit like that?
Nah, the game's changed so much.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game's like, I'm only an outsider and a fan looking in now, but the game's changed so much. Like, as you said, there's so many players with their personal brands of who they are. They've got so many eyes on them. And then the competition to compete, to win, the want to win, to be the best, you have to be doing everything right. I know a lot of the young kids coming through, it's changed around the drinking cultures and stuff like that. Obviously, players still enjoy a beer and having a good time and stuff like that. But I think it's nowhere near what it was probably like, because everyone's got not that I didn't have a goal to win, but it's just so
performance driven, eh?
Yeah, and these athletes, like I work at Kebra Park, and some of the kids there,
I was going to ask you about that,
are monsters.
Are they?
And they're fit, they're fast, they're strong. They just got to get that next bit of footy and
that mindset around
that what they're going to get to and where they're going to get to, and obviously make their footy better and get them up to speed with all that, like their thinking and stuff like that. Mate, it's just going to rugby league in 5 years. Like the front row is the same size as the wingers. Like,
it's true.
Watching the games last night, like there's a game last night, Sharks Warriors. The kids that come on the field, like they don't look like kids. They're not overawed either, like because they're experienced, and like school footy is so powerful these days.
It is, yeah.
Like it's to win a state champions or like Kebra PBC rivalry. It's crazy.
Mental, eh?
Yeah.
Even like I go down and watch some of the GPS Union, like Nudgee and schools like that, and there's 10,000 people to a game.
Yeah.
They're rock stars, and they're 17 years old, and pretty much all of them have a full-time contract straight out of school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the pathway, like,
yeah.
And I feel like kids, they could go, it could get worse as we sort of get older. I know some clubs, especially Melbourne Storm, they have a sort of good culture with kids coming through.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, kids are 17, the minimum wage is 150 grand. Straight out. So you're earning more than your parents.
Yeah.
And you haven't played first grade, you haven't played against men, and you're straight into a full-time system. And I don't know if, like, I don't know about you, but I laboured, we did all those tough, shitty jobs before we sort of made my sort of break. And kids now are going straight into schoolboy rugby. You're a rock star, 10,000 people at a game, straight into a professional system. And it's just like, I don't know if the realistic view of what they're actually doing has set in. Like,
Yeah.
when I was 20, got a contract, I was like 30 years old. That's so far away. I won't think about that now. And then before you know it, you're 29 and you're like, fuck, I'm 30 next year.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they're the scary things that kid, that if he doesn't go on to make it, because if you get picked and probably if you get in the contract at 17 and stuff like that, you're a fair chance. But if you don't,
What next?
it's what's next for them ones. Like when we had a chat before I come on, like rugby league to me is it's all I know. So I invest my time into that. Obviously, it's something that still obviously drives me. I want to see kids get better. I want to help kids, and I want to see the game get better. I see rugby league with the women's game about to explode and go through the roof. It's
amazing, eh?
It is,
yeah.
And that's the same thing. I got 3 nieces here on the Gold Coast. My sister lives here now. And they all play Oz tag and touch and stuff. And what they about to experience with the league stuff, they're totally with the idea of playing league. My eldest sister's daughter just started playing tackle.
Yeah.
And it's just like, my sister's a little bit worried about it, but for the girls.
What a time of your life to be playing rugby league as a woman.
Yeah.
Is it, eh? Like,
it's going to be on the big stage soon. It's going to be follow the NRL teams around. The money's good.
It's going to be more full time than it is right now.
Yeah.
And
well, it's hard, but it's the right time if you're a young girl contemplating the idea of doing it. Like, I think it's if you really focus on it and dive into it, because it's
100%. And like what I like to sort of chat about on this podcast is, and what this centered around, is being vulnerable with your mates and having those sort of challenging and difficult conversations and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. How was your mental health during sort of your period of playing NRL, and was there ever a time that it was really, really struggling with it?
Yeah, I'll always think about that, and people say the same thing, ask me questions like, I always seemed unfazed when I got in trouble, and it was like that. I didn't let anything sort of show. Like, I had difficult times, but I was that person. Like, what do I say? How do I say it? If I think of myself like I'm tough, so like I know that's a weird way to put it, but I would hide it. After I finished playing, a breakdown with Susie and stuff like that, that's when I started to struggle. I've never had the feeling of wanting to end my life, but I've had some dark days where I didn't want to get out of my room. I didn't want to see anyone. And then talking to mates that have struggled with it, was with depression and mental health. Then I think to myself, maybe I did have it when I was playing, but I just didn't show it. And I was only showing it when I would drink. So my emotions of crying and stuff like that, well, I was 30 beers deep, so I didn't let it sort of creep on me. I was just letting it all out when I was under the influence of alcohol.
It was almost like your own method of, letting and expressing your emotions and freely, like.
That's right. And Susie used to say, like, and I can honestly say I didn't know I'd done it. Like, she'd go, do you remember crying last night and bringing up all this stuff? I'm like, no, you lying. She goes, I'll film you next time. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
Like, it was just like, and then I would know that's how it would be. Like, I remember in times when, if I think back on it, like, I've done that before. Like, people have said that to me before. Like, so it's played a big part. And obviously, like I said, like, the way I feel now, the way I felt 2 years ago is crazy. And that's because I've cleaned up my life away from, like, obviously the alcohol and stuff like that. But it's just like the clarity, that uncomfortable feeling and the weary feeling of what's going on in my life is gone. Like, I can look at myself in the mirror,
be content,
and be happy.
Yeah.
Where the morning that I decide to go to Ralph, I was ashamed of myself. I didn't want to brush my teeth to go to work.
Really?
I was just,
I can imagine it'd be tough, as a young kid and, you know, getting sacked and then, but knowing, knowing there's another club wanting to pay big money for you.
yeah.
It was, it was, I can imagine like, on one hand, you think, oh, I got sacked, I should probably look into it. At the same time, another club's paying, $500,000 for you. You think, well, it can't be that bad because they want me.
Yeah.
It can't be that bad because another sort of club, is that how it felt?
No, that's how it felt. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'll go through all the scenarios. So when I was at Canberra, I had the meeting, my manager come down. I met the board. The board asked me to keep my current contract, but not drink for the 3 years of the remainder of the contract. If I said yes, I keep my contract. If I say no, contract will probably be ripped up. So I questioned it, left the board meeting. They said, we're going to have a break. We'll come back to you. Me and my manager went to the coffee shop down the road. He had the Dragons ring him. He had obviously England clubs ringing him. He's like, you'll be sweet, but Canberra's going to be sweet. We get back to the Canberra headquarters. Don Ferner comes out, didn't even go back into the board. There goes the clubs decided to terminate your contract. Dave rings the Dragons. Yeah, sweet. We get a phone call from David Gallup. No, Todd's been deregistered for the 2009 NRL season.
Because of that? Because
the Raiders had rang and made sure that if they had sacked me, that I couldn't get a contract at another club that year.
Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah, it's
no.
Yeah, probably not, but they did.
Fuck.
Yeah, so that in that moment, from the break, from when I left the board meeting to sitting in a coffee shop with my manager, I knew I could go to. Well, I thought I could go to England because I thought I'd get my visa, which I'd end up getting declined. But I knew I had a contract with the Dragons. I was ready to go.
You had a safety net.
Yeah. So then, obviously, that gets squashed. The visa gets declined. So then I moved to Atherton, go to the Roosters. The way the Roosters thing went in the end was Nick was happy to release me because my relationship with Brian Smith.
Yeah.
They didn't sack me. Obviously, once Nick had agreed to that, my manager went out and done his thing, spoke to clubs. Cronulla come along, had a meeting with Leno, had a meeting, a new gal, and he was a big part of me getting there. Straight away, same thing. So then I knew that I was going there. Obviously, things weren't going right at the Roosters. Same thing at Cronulla. Find out I get sacked from Cronulla that night. Have clubs in the NRL interested. France straight away, Catalan Dragons, because they thought I'd never get a visa to England.
Go to France.
They was like, we'll go to France.
Yeah.
So then I told with the idea of playing French rugby.
South France isn't too bad, is it?
Yeah. So then I just took that option. I didn't even explore UK because France, and I didn't want to bother about the visa stuff. So then I always had that. So yeah, it was like there was no time. Well, there should have been time to reflect on why I was.
What was happening, really? Yeah. The reason, yeah.
And that was a big part of what I say to Susie is that, like, I didn't mean to do the things I was doing to her, like the way I was carrying on. Like, I just thought I was just being me. So I thought it was fine. But I also didn't want to lose Susie, then go find someone else and then start a new life with someone else, because that's not, like, they weren't come knocking like, and I had a son. Like, I wanted that to work because I loved her and wanted to be with her, but I was just being reckless me.
Yeah.
So it's just funny. That's how it was, exactly how it was.
Yeah.
It's always a club.
And like going that Rooster season, I'm sure you would have talked about it before, is you gave up the drink that year.
Yeah.
You had arguably, I still remember that season. You couldn't do anything wrong.
No.
And I'm thinking, oh, he's like, this is it. You must be, off the drink, but you got back on it.
Yeah, so I got picked. So had a beer. Obviously, we got beat in the grand final. Had Mad Monday. Mid-Mad Monday, got a phone call that I'd been picked for the Australian team. We're going to camp 2 days later. going to camp, and I said to myself when I was like going into camp that I'm gonna get back off it. Like I've enjoyed my 2 days on the piss with the boys. Get into camp. Obviously I'm an emu. I'm not in the starting team. I didn't understand how it was. So we go to Brisbane. I think it was Brisbane or Melbourne first. And the team that was playing that week sat at one table, and the team that wasn't was at another table. Then the red wine comes out, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah,
On the red,
yeah, sweet." And then it's just, and then like because nothing happened, there was no issues along the way. I finished the tour. I get to play a game. We get beat in the final. I didn't play in the final, but we got beat. I go to New York. I go to LA, Vegas, and head to Mexico with Nate Miles, Darius Boyd, and Willie Tonga. Darius didn't end up coming. Me, Nate, and Willie went. Skipped to Mexico because we'd had enough. And I was thinking, okay, well, I've just done this 6 weeks with the Australian team, 4 weeks in America, no issues.
I can do it.
Yeah, I can do it and get back into training. Just below average. Just didn't show up. I just rested on my values and rested on what happened that year, and had the blow up relationship breakdown with Brian Smith, and then got injured, hurt my hip, and groins, and then it just started to unravel.
Flow-on effect. Yeah.
I just went down that shit spiral, and then that was same thing. Get flicked from there, sign at Cronulla, have some time off the drink, get super fit, train for Roger Fabry, get fast as like I've ever been and fittest I've ever been, turn up to Cronulla flying, have the really good year those 2 years, and then it just sort of
unraveled again
from the bubble.
Yeah.
The incident, like, but my first year at Cronulla, finished second at Dally M. Obviously played in Origin that year, but it just, just
looking back on it, there are moments in time where you think alcohol was obviously the issue. Every time you went on it, you were the best version of yourself. Yeah. And I always just, even like seeing it on TV and reading the newspapers, I've always been like, why wasn't that enough? Like, why wasn't that evidence enough to go, all right, maybe I've got 5 years or 10 years of footy left. Why can't I just give it a rest for that time, reach my full potential, see what I could become, and then was that ever cross your mind?
No, it
didn't. It didn't.
Because I love footy just so much. I just love playing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if I'm looking back now, the things I wish I won an Origin, wish I played more Origins, wish I played more games for Australia.
Yeah.
Wish I won a grand final. But I'm, like you said, I'm in my happy place when I'm playing. Like, I've just finished playing in Byron last year. Like, I had 6 years there. Like, I was meant to do 1 or 2. Like, but
I watched the game, by the way.
Footy's in me. Like, it's what made me tick and what made me who I was. Like, I didn't do it for the money or the fame or what comes with it. I done it because I love rugby league, and I would still do it till I was 50 if I could, but I just can't. Like, there's other things, and I guess like now that I'm obviously well into the journey, like, well, obviously a long way off, but like I'm 2 years sober nearly, that I can reflect on it and go, fuck, why wasn't that enough? And I can look back and now and say, well, that's gone. So like, it's now for me to focus on going, it has to be enough for the rest of your life to be the best version of yourself for your family and people that aspire to be rugby league players. And that's what I try and give, like, is just to show that you can change.
It's not too late, is it?
Yeah. Because as we know, rugby league or rugby or whatever profession you've got, it's a small part of your life. There's so much more life to live, and you to be your best version of yourself, you have to work out what that is. And if for me, it's no alcohol, so it's what I have to stick by to be better.
During your time in the NRL, was there a coach or even a teammate that had the most profound impact on you, not as only as a player but as a person?
Yeah, well, Matty Elliott, like he was my first coach that gave me an opportunity to to obviously play NRL, gave me that opportunity. And I still think to this day, Maddie understands me.
See?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, I had him at my wedding. He's a big part of me. But if I had any issues, I could ring Maddie and feel comfortable to express those issues with him, and he would be able to understand me. And then there's players like I've got a great relationship with Boyd Cordner, Jared Croker, Wade Graham, Piercy. I guess with Piercy now we're on the similar journey. And it's good to have someone that you've had that moments of madness and greatness with, while we're playing, drinking, things like that. And we still say to this day that were some of the best memories of our lives. But it's good to have someone to ring up and just go, "How you feeling today?" Or he might ring me and go, "I'm in the shittest mood. What's going on?" I go, "Oh," I'm like, "I'm the same."
You need that though, don't
He
you?
goes, "What do you reckon it is?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Let's just write it together." I said, "I'll check in with you at 9:00 tonight." And we do that.
That's
It's
amazing.
just like wake up the next morning and I'll text him. I'll send a photo of himself in the gym. I said, "How you feeling, bruh?" He goes, "Way better, eh?" I'm like, "Same."
Is it funny, like, when you sort of have moments to reflect and go, fuck, our lives have changed a lot in the last 10 years? Like,
Yeah.
because you would have been messaging each other for other reasons, say 10 years ago. And now, it's about sort of your mindset and how you're feeling and going to the gym and eating well. And like, it'd be a cool thing to reflect on because you both have, similar journeys of themselves, and to go through those moments in life together and then be where you're at now. It'd be a weird little feeling, wouldn't it?
100%. Like,
Yeah.
we've got a guy reached out to us to play in the nines in Vegas.
Sick.
And like, I rang him up, said, "You can't do it." He's like, he's got stuff that he's like, he needs to be in Australia for, so he can't do it. But he goes, imagine if
To have to be in Vegas?
imagine if it was 2 years ago, like what, like, how much it's changed. Like, I wouldn't even tempted to ask. Like, where now I've asked Susie, she's like,
Yeah.
she hadn't said no. Like, we haven't really sat down and had a discussion about it. I'd have to be away for a week, but it's sort of like, that's good to know. Like, for you be before Vegas, I'm not playing. I won't play.
I'm not coming home.
Yeah, that's it. You
Yeah,
don't know if yeah.
I know you just mentioned before that you stopped playing last year. How has your transition out of the game been? Has it been a smooth one? I know you're into sort of your mentoring, your coaching and stuff. Did you feel like you struggled with your identity as, Todd Carney, the NRL player, or was it a sort of a smooth transition terms?
I guess when I finished overseas, I knew that I wanted to retire from over there anyway. I knew that I had an option to come here and play in Byron, and I had a clear roadmap. Then that roadmap sort of got a little bit lost along the way because what I thought would be fine in Byron with some coaching stuff wasn't enough for me. I needed more stimulation. So then obviously I met Susie, moved to the Gold Coast, started a concreting business. And that was cool. I liked it. I ran it like it was a footy team. Had a mate that we had our differences with, where we end up ending the business, but the way we were, like, I had no clue about concreting, but I was eager to, like, I was up at 4 a.m. I'd pick him up, we'd go pick up all the gear.
Yeah.
I had contacts. I was ringing people, like, getting jobs and stuff. Like, we were humming.
Yeah.
But I would use it as that way. Like, the blokes that work for us would go have a beer on Friday after a slab pour. Like,
You knew how to run a team.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was like sitting around. Like, it was like that young little team. Then sort of got away from that. Went into sort of the space, worked at Mob School in Southport for disengaged youth. Really enjoyed my time there. I feel that gave me a platform to share my story. Also gave me a platform to understand boys, but also understand that it's time for me to actually, like, I'm trying to help these younger boys where I'm living a life away from there, hiding shit from there, and where I could it gave me a sort of a shove to get help. So I owe a lot to Mob for that, and they were a big part of like when I went to rehab. They gave me time off from work and stuff like that. And then now I'm at Kebra, like I'm starting to fall back into footy. I do commentary with Triple M.
Yeah, cool.
Some pathway stuff with the Titans.
Mm.
But it's just I'm sort of navigating with where I want to get to.
Yeah.
Obviously I've got a young family. I want to have more kids. And I want to have as much time as I can for them. But I also want to help people. I've got these like dreams of doing bigger things, of like sort of make an impact on men's lives, people that want to make change, and it's just trying to navigate how I do that because, like I said, all I know is footy, so that's all I can sort of
Mold it around.
mold it
Yeah.
through footy.
And it's interesting, man, because you think like when you're playing footy, this will be the most impact that I'll have on the world as a, as an NRL player, as a professional athlete. But
Yeah.
it's only until you leave the game you realize, man, I can have such a bigger impact on so many more people than just being, a rugby league player.
Yeah, I guess the same thing for me, as we spoke, Susie about it when we were on the honeymoon, is that, and it's hard. You can't do it because there's ways you got to live and stuff. Like what I said, like if I could just give all my time to Susie and the kids, that would be enough for me. So it's just about how to focus and
It's a beautiful spot to be in.
set things, just to be in that, like, because it goes so fast. Like the last 6 years or the last 4 years, sorry, for Lion, the little boy, it's gone so fast. I'm like, we're talking about having another one or two. So it's like, because we want more and want more to give back to, but it's just, everything happens so fast.
Yeah, it does. Does it feel like a blur in terms of, your playing days? Does it feel like trying to remember certain situations and things? Does it feel like a bit of a blur?
Yeah,
It does.
I reckon I've blocked heaps out.
Oh, the coping mechanism?
Yeah, I reckon, like, I'm starting to, obviously, with the unraveling of unpacking some of the stuff that got to me where I am, but I've still got heaps to unpack. I reckon I've still got heaps to reflect on, heaps to, not make amends, but like, there's part of me that wants to actually make contact with some people, just to know that. And I'm doing that with the clubs. I speak at the clubs. So I've sort of not in with the NRL, but like I've made that sort of connection. And I'm sort of trying to give back to the game. So I feel there's some things that I need to unpack so I can feel comfortable.
Is that part of your rehab, is to, I guess, to reach out to people that you may have done wrong by, or try get an apology? Obviously, they don't need to accept it, but for you to move on. For you to move on, to say,
So it's not
sorry for whatever I did, or is that what it is? Yeah, okay.
A fair few sorries that I don't remember.
Yeah, right.
I have tried. You can't say sorry to everyone. I guess for me is that as long as I stick on the path that I'm on, is big enough, sort of
leads you in the right direction.
Yeah, leads me in the right direction for that to happen, and I believe good things will happen from it.
What was your lowest point? Did you reach a rock bottom?
Yeah, the rock bottom was the moment I decided to get help. I was so when me and Susie split, I had a unit in Mermaid. Went for a beer on the Wednesday night, carried on, and then woke up on the Thursday. Tried to go to work, and then physically couldn't get in the shower or brush my teeth, and then that was just like the moment was like, well, if you can't do that. Sat on the end of my bed, rang Susie. We weren't together at the time, and I just said, look, I need help. I need you to support me here. Rang my sister, rang my mum, and then obviously had a day to reflect to myself, because obviously they were all at work and stuff. So I laid at home and rang some people about rehab and stuff like that. And it was good that I got in quite early. But yeah, that's definitely my rock bottom. Like I wasn't in a good place. I just felt like I'd let so many people down.
Was it a shift in your mindset that day? Was just like, I've had enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was time to open up. Like I rang my mum, I rang my sisters, and just opened up. I told them everything that had been going on, what had gone on. Like, because my mum and sisters will support me to the day I die. And even if I didn't go into my deepest secrets or things that was going on, they would still support me no matter what. But when I opened up to them and let them know that I was the one causing all this havoc and chaos in my life, and the stuff that was falling down around it was from me, not other people. They were like, okay, it's like it's time for you to get that help, and they were so supportive of it, and obviously relieved because I'd finally told them what was going on. Where before I could hide it
Easily.
easy. Yeah, I could hide it. Like, mum can ring me or I'd ring and blame other people to mum, and she'd be like, because she's my mum, she's going to support me. She'd be like, oh, okay, just
check.
go easy
Yeah.
with yourself today. Just
Yeah.
just be careful. Like,
Yeah. Was that hard to come to that awareness of, I've done this to myself? You know, it wasn't anyone else. It wasn't any other circumstances. The blame wasn't anyone else. Was it hard to go, yeah, this is all
yes,
me?
it was, but it was a relief because that meant that I was fed up with me and that I was willing to do anything possible to make change.
And I guess on one hand, that's something that I've thought about because I got in a spiral of victimhood mentality where I was blaming everyone else for things that was going wrong with my life. Like, you know, I missed out on a contract to go to another club. I blamed because the coach didn't like me, and I was like, well, the coach doesn't like me, so I'm blaming that. I'm blaming this, like blaming things for why I'm getting injured. And it was such a victim mentality where I suddenly realized that all the things that was happening in my life, I was the main person. Like, I was the person doing it to myself. And it was really like almost depressing to hear that I've done this all to myself. And then I realized, well, I've also got the power to fix it myself too.
Yeah.
You know, all the power is with us.
Yeah, so true. And like, obviously, you've always got your sidekicks, the ones that you sort of to dance around with, and the ones you enjoy those moments with. And I miss it. Like, because obviously we shared a good connection. But for me, I was the instigator, and I had to realize that, and I had to own up to that, and where I'd shift blame to other people just to navigate past the situation or to feel okay. But it wasn't getting me anywhere. So it was good to actually to own up and have that clarity, especially from my mum and sisters. And obviously Susie knew along the way because she was the one facing it front and center in the midst of
The darkest times.
The darkest times of me coming home in a state, and then obviously her trying to express that to my mum and sisters, and then her probably looking like she was a whinger or he's not like that.
Because you're telling them one thing and she's saying the truth pretty much. Yeah.
And then so it was good to actually to come clean with it all, and then obviously I needed to do that to get to the stages where I got to, and it's good like for me to unpack it and then also to now express it. And like if I wanted to have a cry, I can have a cry and think about my dad or whatever, things like that. Like it's
accessible there. It wasn't.
Yeah,
I felt the same. It was hard to express emotion because we suppressed it so much that I just couldn't cry. I couldn't do it.
No.
And now it's like you do the work, and I love it. I honestly love it. If something makes me want to cry, I think it's such a beautiful thing that I've got the ability to do it rather than being so closed off with our emotions and not knowing how to sort of self-regulate. And I have the same moments where like I cried at a movie. It's like,
yeah,
you're right. I'm like, yeah, is that not, no one finds that sad? You know? But I love, because I never used to be like that. And I really wanted to be like that as a father, because my father had a terrible childhood, and how he coped was that showing emotion was weakness. Showing emotion, you were preyed upon.
Yeah.
So what Dad brought into the relationship, without even knowing that's how he was going to parent, was when we were growing up, no emotion in the house, you know, other than positivity. So if you're going through struggles, if you're going through hardship, like I've watched my mum and dad never talk about it. So as you're a kid, you know, your parents would always tell you one thing, but if they're acting another way, as a kid, that's what you see. Like, you don't listen to your parents, you watch how they live.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really was really like conscious on when I turned 30 was like, all right, all my focus now is like, how do I be a better version of myself, but also for future Elliot, I want to be a dad.
Yeah.
How do I be the best dad possible? And like, I thought about my childhood, and dad was such a good father. Like, he changed a lot of things in his childhood, but I think as a responsibility as your kids grow up, it's like, what bits and pieces can you grab from your childhood and improve them when you're a father? And like having that open dialogue and talking about your emotions as a kid and not being so taboo and secret, and like just have a regular, like, we do check-ins, me and Jordan, we do check-ins before we go to sleep, and we just talk about things that went well for us today.
Yeah.
And there's these little things that I want to incorporate as kids. I don't know, I'm not a father, so I don't know how easy that is.
Yeah.
But
I'm still navigating through that of being a father and understanding the big thing I'm starting to get now is that that you've got to listen. You've got to, you can't always just be the one going, yap, do this, yes, no. You got to listen to what they're feeling, and that's all part of it. Like before, I'd probably just be like, oh, I'm not listening and get on with it all. But where now, if I can sit and listen, there's something wrong. Like you can
be present.
Yeah, be present in every moment, and being the way I am is I'm present. Like I'm selfish in some parts of my structure of the way I live my life because I have to be
Deep in routine.
Yeah, and routine and stuff. I've sort of eased off it a little bit because I'm comfortable. But when I first started this journey, I was selfish. I had to be, and Susie accepted that. She was really good with it, and so it's good to sort of ease off and sort of give a bit of freedom to other people.
What was the most challenging aspect of going to rehab? Did you still have that feeling of people knowing you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
The pride
of
what I was doing, that I was surrendering to get help, what people were going to think, like just scared. I was a bit scared, like of
the unknown.
Yeah, the unknown. Like I knew that I was going there. What I was worried about is if what if I do the 30 days or 3 months and nothing happens. So like that's why I before I walked in, they get your bags checked and stuff like that, and gave Susie a cuddle and sort of said like, "See ya, like I'm gonna be fine." Like, but I was in the unknown. Like I'd never experienced it before. Like I was just letting it happen, and
you're powerless.
And that's what that's when my first check in that next morning. Like when I was in there, I was just like I slept shit last night. I feel shit, but I'm not coming back here. I'm doing this. I'm getting through it, whatever it takes, and I'm going to open up to everything that I need to and get it done.
Did you have to learn to forgive yourself?
Yeah. So part of you had to write your life story while you're in there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you have to present it?
You had to present it before you leave. And when I was writing through all that, it was difficult. I had a lot of guilt and shame. You had to write down some things that in the part of the journey was you had to write about things that you'd let down, some secrets that you would never want anyone to know, like just little things like that, and just things that you held in along the way was difficult. But it felt good when I read it.
Did it?
Yeah.
Amazing. What was that the most rewarding part of the journey of rehab?
The rewarding part was probably obviously you walk into an environment I was in a section at the top, so there was like 25 people, and then there was another whole section of like people that are in there staying there longer. So I was in like a private section for 28 days, and if I stayed longer, I'd go down to the bottom, another section, but we'd all mingle together. Was the connection I got with those people over those 28 days. Like I would do a training session with like a group of them at 6 a.m. I would hang out, like obviously you find your crew who you hang out with. But just the day I left it's called Hopes and Concerns. And just for the people that were in there, some of them fighting a bigger battle than I was, that just for them to be able to sit there and experience and obviously give their hopes and concerns to me and sort of send me on my way, was the biggest part. Like the biggest relief I got out is that I knew that I was ready to go. Like the guy, one of the guys in there that was obviously one of the facilitators, he come to me when it was the decision to say if I was staying longer. He said to me, he goes, you've zapped every bit of energy out of this place. It's time for you to go out and experience it in the real world. Incredible. Like, go do it. He goes, I don't want to see you again. He goes, go change so many people's lives. And it was good to get that because like he was someone that he works there. So he knew what he was doing. He was sending me out to defend for myself.
We're ready.
Like I was comfortable to stay there if I had to. Like I wouldn't have liked it, but if it was I needed to, I had to, I would have done it.
We've talked a little bit about Susie during this chat. If you're happy to, can you share the impact that she's had on you? I know that she's been with you. You've experienced some highs together, but you've also experienced some lows together. And to sit here happily married with her, what does she mean to you?
Well, she means a lot to me. Like she's the first person that's taught me what it's like to be loved or to love someone that's not family. She loves hard. She's absorbed she's in it. She's been in it from the start, and she didn't know me from when I was playing. She didn't know me from a bar of soap. She sort of met in different times. She'd just been on Married at First Sight, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, she was on Married at First Sight when we first met, and she wasn't allowed to tell me. So it was so we met, and then she didn't tell me, and then she was going to Sydney, and so we went through a bit of a phase where I was like, well, I'm not going to deal with you not telling me shit. So and then she not telling me, and on the show she was portrayed to be a witch. Like I see parts of it now that we're together for 6 years and married. Like
it wasn't just the producers editing.
It wasn't just the producer. I've seen that side of her, but I seen her in a difficult time too after the show. Like she copped a fair bit of
Scrutiny,
backlash and stuff. And because I'd been in that environment, I knew how to handle it. But it's been a challenge. Like it was a challenge when we first got together. She's a stepdaughter baby. It was a challenge because I wasn't prepared to be a stepdad at that time because I was still struggling with being who I was. But we got through that. We got through some difficult times. But she was obviously a big part of this change of me getting professional help because I didn't want to lose her. I wanted to give her what she deserves, and that's a loving husband, but also a loving father to our kids. And it's been really good. Like the last coming on 2 years, like our life's changed so much, and the things we've got to experience, but just also just to sit in peace. Not so much for me, but for her to sit in peace and have calm, and stability and not worry. Like God knows what she would have been like when, like I would hate to feel what she would have felt when I was in the highs of me being reckless and just in destruction. And then I guess with the marriage and the wedding and stuff was a big thing. Thank you to Susie for me anyway. It was like, that's why I wanted to give it all to make sure the place was perfect and that she had the best day and the honeymoon and stuff. And like I mentioned, we want to have more kids and have a big family and try and sort of teach them and be the best parents possible for them. And that's all because she didn't have to stick by me. Like we were broken up when I hit rock bottom, and while she said she was unhappy, like she would have been happy. She would have found happiness. But I think obviously because she stuck around and she gave me support when I needed it before I went to rehab, and she didn't have to do that. And yeah, so it's been really good. She's like I said, it's been a tough journey.
Yeah, I bet.
But we've got through it the other side, and um, that's yes, she's tough. She's a tough woman.
She sounds like it. One of the toughest, just to be around during those darkest times, and
Yeah,
still,
because she did put up for it for a little while. She sort of turned a blind eye to it and tried to probably guide through it and tried to think, oh, this will pass, but it just got worse. And I guess if she let it continue to get worse, it just would have unraveled where I probably wouldn't have survived it. I would have ended up fucking up or doing something really stupid that I probably would end up fucking doing something silly. And she just, that's what she said. She goes, it's not going to happen on my watch. So I'm leaving you. And that was a tough decision for her because Lion was one. So,
what do you hope Lion will learn from you one day?
well, the thing is, he's not going to grow up in a household that is chaotic and there'll be no alcohol involved. And if he wants to drink, he can drink. That'll be his decision when that time comes. But I want him to. What he want from me was what I got from my dad. Is like he needs to be honest and open. He needs to have a good attitude to everything, and then just to be a good person. While I've done some silly things along the way, I regard myself as a really good person, and people say that know me well. And if he can have those traits, the traits I have, is I think he'll achieve things. So hopefully he'll take that, and then from his mum's side, I guess hopefully yeah, just like loves hard like she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, we got some quick fire questions to finish. You can answer these as quick or as long as you want. What's been the hardest day of your life?
Hardest day,
Hardest day.
oh, definitely like saying goodbye to my dad was, and I'll share it because it's something that still eats at me, and I had to let it go when through the thing is I still kick myself that I never got to say thank you. Like we sat at the hospital the night that he took his last breath, and I had an opportunity to say thank you, but I didn't, and it still eats at me today. And like I've got past it because my nan actually passed away a couple of months ago, and which was my dad's mum, and I actually said it to her to say thank you to him when obviously we all say that they cross paths
The afterlife, yeah.
in the afterlife.
Why do you think that you didn't say it to him?
I just because it just all happened so fast, and I was an emotional wreck. But it was something that always ate at me. Why didn't I say thank you? Like even at the viewing, like I had a moment where I don't know if I was too proud or what it was, but that's definitely the toughest day of my life. Yeah.
What's something that you still struggle with today?
Um, letting people's opinions sort of make me feel uncomfortable, which is something that I still work on.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets?
Yeah,
You do.
plenty.
Plenty.
I have plenty of regrets, but also, like I mentioned at the start, that those regrets that I have put me in a place to sit here today and talk about them, because no one's life's perfect. And if you say you don't have regret, it means you lived a perfect life when it's not possible in any walk of life. So I've got regrets, but those regrets put me instead for a better life.
How have you defined success?
Sitting here.
Yeah.
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 What do you wish more people understood about you?
Not so much understood, but just like that I'm a good person, like that I don't mean to do the things I've done. There was a reason behind it, and I found that reason, and then hopefully that means that I don't do anything wrong to anyone moving forward.
What are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life?
Um, ooh, I don't know. It's a hard one because I've let so much slip in the way. Yeah, I don't really have 3 non-negotiables.
Cold showers every morning.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, things
Yeah,
that I live by
you live
culture.
by. Yeah.
Um, to be open and honest
Mm.
now, because I've I've cleaned the slate.
Yeah.
Um, and to try and be respectful to as many people as you can, because you don't know what that person that walked past you or that cut you off in the car are going through.
Mm.
Just to understand and sometimes sit and pause through madness.
Everyone's fighting their own battles that we
That's
know
exactly
nothing
right.
about.
Yeah,
Mm. What brings you the most joy and fulfillment?
family,
Yeah. Who's your hero?
my dad.
Your dad.
Yeah,
What's one piece of advice you'd give that 16-year-old Todd starting out his journey?
just to go harder than I did, but just leave no stone unturned, have no regrets.
Yeah,
And that's hard to have no regrets.
it is, isn't it?
But yeah, go harder than I did.
What's one thing that you love about yourself?
I'm a tough cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Still,
yeah,
always will be.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Like yeah. It takes a lot to beat me
Mm.
if I'm passionate about it and I want to get through it.
Mm.
That's why I can sit here proud today of the things I've got through and adversity and stuff like that. I'm mentally tough.
Yeah. Toddy, thanks so much for coming on today, mate. I really do appreciate it, and I think I would regret it if I didn't say to you. I know we don't know each other on a personal level. We just met today. However, I know I've seen your career play out on the TV and on the newspapers, and a lot of the times your life play out there too. But I really want to let you know how proud I am of you, for all the things that you've gone through, all the changes that you made in your life, and having the courage to seek help and try to be a better version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone around you, and all the things that you do in your life, all the mentoring and giving all that advice to young kids. And you really are a role model for young kids. And I don't think that you probably would have thought yourself as a role model maybe when you're playing, but you really are, mate.
Yeah.
And I do hope that you're proud of yourself as well.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man.
We're not done. So for everyone listening, I do have a closing tradition of the podcast where I don't ask the last question. I get family and friends and they send in questions for the guests. We're on. So who do we want? Who do we want first? Okay. He's just sent this in now, actually.
Growing up, your dad was a huge influence on all of us, not just as a coach, but as a role model. Now that you're a father, what qualities or lessons from him do you find passing on to your own kids?
So for everyone listening, that's Dane Weston, grew up with Toddy.
Yeah, and as Dane said, he was a role model to us. He was our coach, but also he was quite a presence. And like I said, what he taught me was to be tough and resilient and to not give up. And that's what I'd share to any young person or even my young kids, is that life's going to be tough, but don't keel over to it, to work at it, and you'll get through it. There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that. There's always going to be curveballs in there. From your beautiful wife, Susie, Toddy, you're most known as rugby league players, one of the best rugby players of all time. One of the youngest ever to debut, Dalian medalist. However, you don't give yourself anywhere near enough credit for your achievements and often play them down compared to others. Why is that?
I guess because I don't know. I feel sometimes not ashamed, but I feel because the negative has probably outweighed the positive a fair bit along my career. But now I can to be fair, I haven't really reflected too much and sort of sat back and thought about my career too much, which I'm starting to do as I get older and starting to sort of unpack stuff and to appreciate it. So that's probably why, is that I haven't actually, and I don't, and then things that she speaks about doesn't define me as a player, like the accolades and the things like that. It's not
something that you chase, is it?
No, I just chase rugby league.
Rugby league, yeah.
I chase that feeling, the feeling we spoke about. I chase it. I'd continue to chase it if I could and play till as long as I could, but you can't. Like, there's time when you've got to let something go, and I guess for me it's now finding what that feeling is, and I haven't got it. I don't know what will replace it, but I'll find it along the way, and when I do, I'll absorb the shit out of it and make that my passion.
I love that. And on the flip side of sort of letting those things defy you when you're playing footy, I want you to know I don't want those negative things to define you either.
Yeah.
You know, they're the things that all the positive things you're doing now will outweigh everything that you've been as a footy player, and that's what people remember you by now.
Yeah.
Last one. MhP&x. The big fella.
There we go.
What was the golden moment that enlightened you to take accountability completely?
Just that I was fed up with myself. That I become worried for my own safety, become scared. I was scared in the end. The moment I was sitting in my bedroom at my place, I was scared of what could happen or what could be if I continued to go down that path. And so yeah, definitely that.
Awesome. Again, Toddy, thanks so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing your story and opening up, and I wish you all the best, brother.
Thanks, brother. Good luck with the wedding. The honeymoon.
And the kids.
And the kids, yeah.
Thanks, brother.
All good, bro.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.